Section YY8 podcast is back. I don't know if we're better than ever, but we're back, Harbin.
Back and maybe better.
Maybe better. Not better than ever, but better than the last time we recorded.
Just don't call it a comeback.
Okay, I won't.
Yeah.
I will not. I'm Negative Niece. That is Harb. If you're watching, I'm pointing to him. If you're listening, I'm pointing to him. On your radio dial, Harb is probably on the right side of your radio dial if you're listening, and I'm on the left side. Um, I think it's opposite here when we're recording from what I see. It's always weird if I watch it, everything's reversed from what I see when we're recording, and probably you too, Harb. So, anyways, I digress. Um, we did not record Sunday night because the Great American Race, the Daytona 500, went a little long. We had a rain delay of a couple hours. I think they ran 11 laps. Rain delay for a couple hours. They came back and ran 10 laps under caution, and then had another like 30-minute rain delay, and then we got the race going finally. But not my favorite Daytona 500. There's been a lot more 500s, a lot more entertaining, but a interesting finish and a lot of drama late, which is what you want in these races. But about, I would say 80 to 85% of the race was not much to watch. There's just not, and I don't want to get too deep into this because we might talk about the Daytona 500 later, but there's just not in these, I don't call them plate races anymore because I don't use a restrictor plate, but the drafting races, just not much strategy to them anymore. They ride around half throttle and try to save fuel the whole race until the end. But anyways, Daytona 500 was last weekend. Harb actually watched it.
I did, and I really enjoyed it because I won money.
I lost money. I bet on it and lost.
I took the 24 Will Byron to win, and it paid out 20 to 1. Jeff Gordon was my favorite growing up, and they brought back the old paint scheme, so that kind of brought back some nostalgia for me. The Flames. Wish it'd go back to DuPont, but
DuPont's out of it. So.
Corporate America. But yeah, I enjoyed it. That was probably I was telling Nace before we recorded, that was probably the first race I've watched like at least 80% of in at least 12 to 15 years. It was fun. It was fun, and I think I just enjoyed it a lot more because I profited off of it.
Will you watch next weekend? This coming weekend?
What time do they race? Is it a day race?
Yeah, it's probably mid-afternoon.
Maybe.
I can tell you in about 10 seconds.
I work till 5, so
it'll be before then. It might be finishing then.
I'll probably have it on behind me.
It says 3 o'clock, so that probably means 3:30 before they actually drop the green flag.
Then I may watch a little bit of the second, third, or ending third of the race.
Did you see the winner, William Byron? Did you see the Instagram message he left on a particular singer's photograph that she uploaded?
I did. Mine, it showed me that earlier, and kudos to him. I mean, you're back-to-back 500 winner. I don't know. By the way, how many times has somebody went back-to-back at Daytona? I asked Jake that, and he didn't have an answer.
That is a great question. I'll try to find that before the end of the show.
Because
I know it's happened.
Yeah, 2-time 500 winner. That's a pretty big accomplishment from the little bit that I know about NASCAR. But in regards to him sliding in on Sabrina Carpenter, strike while the iron's hot. This is potentially the biggest your name's going to be, at least for a while. So go for it, brother.
I want to think Sterling Marlin went back-to-back at one point, but I'll have to confirm that. The Tennessee native, Sterling Marlin.
Well, Denny Hamlin did too, didn't he?
I think so.
I know he won 3 out of 5.
Yeah, he was right there, but trying to win a fourth, which would have been crazy. There's not many people with four Daytona 500s. Richard Petty's got seven, which is crazy. I'll look this up and get back to you. I found two so far, but I'll look those up and get back to you. Let's go ahead and do it now. I was correct. Sterling Marlin won the 1994 Daytona 500 in the Kodak. I don't know what model he drove. The Kodak film machine, Chevrolet. And then he won again in 95 in the Kodak film Chevrolet. Denny Hamlin was the next to do it in 2019 and 2020. And now William Byron is the last to do it, 2024 and 2025. Before Sterling Marlin did it, you had Richard Petty in 1973 and 1974, and Kel Yarborough, 1983, great year, and 1984.
So
There you go.
5 guys.
Five. Richard Petty, Kel Yarborough, Sterling Marlin, Denny Hamlin, William Byron.
It's pretty good company to be in if you're Byron. No? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's still relatively early on in his career, even though he's somewhat of a veteran now, and he's already got two. I mean, you could say he's probably got 10, 15 years left. I don't think he's going to win every year, but, he's going to have the opportunity to win two or three more of these things, legit opportunities. Well, I mean, he'll have an opportunity for years to win this thing because he's in a good car with a good team and he's a good driver. But realistically, you have to have a lot of things go your way. He honestly probably shouldn't have won that race Sunday, but right place, right time. Sometimes that happens.
Is what it is. If you
It is what
finish
it is.
one, they don't ask how it happened.
Chad Grubb says winners win. William Byron won.
Winners win. Do you think Grubb would compare this to when Sergio won the Masters?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I hope he listens to
I
this.
hope he listens to this and text us to tell us his answer. This is
You
a
know, I
test. This is a test to see if Grubb listens to the podcast.
think he was the only person in Tennessee that enjoyed watching Sergio in that Masters. But anyway, we're getting way off track.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
get caught up on some basketball. I've already spent way too much time talking about NASCAR for what I normally
Talking
would.
about cars turning left. You've already spent way too much time.
Yeah.
So, Tennessee basketball. I had kind of a unique podcast episode last week with Jordan Moore. Appreciate him coming on. A lot of good insight. Got some good feedback about him being on. We'll try to get him on again when Harb's on. But after that game or after that show last week, Tennessee played Vandy, and it did not. And I'm full disclosure, I didn't watch the game live. I was in the gym most of the day, but went back and watched it Saturday night. But it was not good early on for the Vols, especially in the first half. Um, I tweeted this hard. Tennessee went on to win 81-76, I believe, and honestly, I mean, I don't know what was going on with them in the first half. I don't want to say that they were playing uninspired, but they looked lethargic, no energy, really low energy, like Jeb Bush. And just, I don't know, like nothing. Vanderbilt was quicker to the ball. Vanderbilt also couldn't miss, but that was two games in a row where Tennessee has defended the 3-point ball extremely poorly by their standards. And a stat for you on the season, Tennessee is allowing a 38% 3-point percentage to their opponents. During this last 3-game stretch, they're allowing teams to shoot 51%, I believe is what I looked up last time. Not good. And it's out of their norm. So I don't want to say it's something that I think will continue. I don't think it will, but especially the Kentucky game and then the first half of that Vandy game, just it was disturbing how well Vandy was shooting it. Now, I will say, going back and watching that game, Vandy made some Houdini top shots. Not many, but a handful that had no business going in, but they did. And that led to some of the high percentage that you see. But Kentucky did not shoot. They were not being Houdini. They just made shots. And I think it's frustrating. And I think Vandy plays tonight, but here on Wednesday. Well, interested to see how they shoot the ball tonight. But Kentucky came back and did not shoot the ball very well at all against Texas this past weekend, and they lost. And we were laughing. I was watching it with my uncle Harb, and it popped up on the screen. Tennessee or Kentucky's 3-5 their last 8 games. Well, guess who two of those wins are? Tennessee. So, anyways, not to beat the Kentucky horse to death, but not Tennessee's best defensive games the past couple weeks. I'd been kind of moaning and complaining about Tennessee's defense the past few weeks. It's still elite. Jordan and I talked about this on last week's show, but they've had these lapses recently where they've allowed teams to get hot. And it sucks when Tennessee's in a lapse on the offensive end and they can't score. It's really like that's when the defense has really got to tighten the screws and find a way. But anyways, what was your thoughts on the Tennessee Vandy game? I mean, it was a huge win for Tennessee. They did not need to lose that basketball game. I know they're probably not going to win the SEC, but as far as the standings go and where they end up in the tournament, in the SEC tournament, they needed to win that game.
For sure. We're still fighting for a double bye at this point. We're going to need a little bit of help because we have, what, is it four? We have four conference games left? No, we only got two home games left.
Yeah, let me look. I thought it was 5, but let me check.
Well, I know our only two home games left are Alabama and South Carolina, and we obviously have A&M coming up.
Yeah, 5. We're at A&M, at LSU, home against Bama, at Ole Miss, home against South Carolina.
Yeah, so the Vandy game, this was not the first time that we looked terrible in the first half and had to rely on an offensive barrage in the second half. I brought this up 2 or 3 weeks ago on here. It's kind of been the theme of the season for the most part. You know, you come out flat, get a good little butt chewing at halftime, and then they start playing like they should. And you just can't keep doing that because there's going to be games like the Florida game and amongst others where you score 25 in the first half or less, and you scored 25 or less in the first half, and you don't score 50 in the second half. You know, so you can't keep relying on that, and unfortunately, I see that's what's going to end our season. It just is what it is. If it happened once or twice, you could call it a coincidence. It's happened numerous times. I don't have all the stats in front of me, but it's happened at least 8 or 9 times where we've come from behind or just had to score a ton of points in the second half to win. So, but I do want to give them boys credit on their effort in the second half, especially as Kai Ziegler. He was non-existent in the first half. No points, like 0 of 2 from the field. Ended up with 22 and 8. He may have only had like an assist or two in the first half as well. That's what leaders do. They step up when it matters, especially against an in-state rival that has already beaten you this season. You can't go 0-4 against Vandy and Kentucky in a season and consider
No.
it the end of the season. You cannot do that. So this was an absolute must-win game.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. You can't go 0-4 against those two teams in the same season.
I saw a stat. I'm gonna see if I can word search it on X, the Everything app. Um, but it's Tennessee's X Factor. Okay, here it is. This is as of 4 days ago, so I guess it was after the Vandy game. John Rothstein, we sleep in May,
Yes.
our fearless leader for college basketball. Tennessee is now 16-1 this season when Chaz Lanier scores 16 or more points, and they're 4-5 when he does not. He had 21 and 8 rebounds today in a win over Vandy, the X factor in Knoxville.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not really anything we didn't already know for the most part. But when he plays well, we're going to win. If he doesn't, it's we're going to be scrapping and clawing.
Yeah.
So if he gives you 20, you're going to win the ball game. I don't know what the one game was where he scored 16 and we lost. I'll have to go back and look at that.
Yeah. I'll have to look that up. I don't know. There's only five losses, so you just have to go back and find five of them.
Well, yeah, I guess Rothstein. Yeah, I guess he got one of the games off because he had six total losses for us.
Oh, yeah,
Either
because
way, either way though,
yeah.
yeah. But yeah, you're going to need production out of your older guys, especially the ones that have been here. But Lanier's our best offensive player. Everybody knows that. You don't get production out of him, it's going to get a little stagnant. But think the second half was Tennessee basketball. Vandy made shots. I don't think it was necessarily poor defense. Some of it was in the first half because they were open and they were just knocking them down. But yeah, Vandy's a good basketball team.
Yeah, Vandy's a lot better than they have been. I mean, just give them that. I don't like Vandy, and I don't want to give them too much credit, but they are an improved basketball team, and they'll. I think last I looked, they're like a 10 seed in the projections across the board, 10, 9, 10, 11 seed areas. So not a bad basketball team. And it's like Jordan said on the show last week, Vanderbilt was our worst loss, and it's a top 50 loss on the road. So not a bad team at all. And that's what I tried to make a point, and Jordan did too, of, Tennessee doesn't have a bad loss on their schedule in terms of analytics or rankings or any of that. But I was sitting there thinking at halftime of that game when I saw the score, and I'm like, this would be a bad loss to me. I mean, the numbers still wouldn't say it's a quote bad loss, but just the way they were playing and just they needed a win because they got I know it's not as tough as some other teams coming up, but they still got a tough stretch here. They got to go on the road to A&M. They still got Alabama coming to town, so they got to win these games at home. They need to try to hold serve at home if they want to stay in the top five, top 10 range. But nice win, nice comeback, like you said. Leaders step up, and that's exactly what Zakai Ziegler did. 37 minutes, 8 assists, 22 points, all the points in the second half. Lanier had 21, 8 rebounds. Igor had 10 points. And wow, he only had 2 rebounds. That's interesting. Meshack had 9, had a couple big threes. Akpara had 6 points and 6 boards. Jordan Gainey had 9. Uh, Darlin Stone had 3. So, um, this team's basically playing 8 players right now. And I wondered out loud in the first half, I was like, man, this team must be tired. They must be exhausted because they were just playing with no energy, little to no energy. They were letting Vandy beat them on the boards. Things didn't look good, but I don't know what they did at halftime. But whatever it was, they were a completely different team in the second half. But nice win for the Vols, Harb. And they, before the Kentucky game last week, they were fifth. They dropped to seventh after, or sorry, to eighth. No, seventh. Now they're back to sixth in the SEC standings. So They got some teams in front of them if they want to get to that double bye. A&M's in front of them still, so got an opportunity to do that this week as the Vols travel to College Station there in Texas. Big matchup on Saturday. Another noon tip-off, Harbin. What's up with all these noon tip-offs?
I don't know. I hate it. Side note, roughly 7 minutes ago of real time, Kentucky was up on Vanderbilt 46 to 4 or 45 to 44. It is now 59 to 46.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Sure,
That
Vandy's not lighting it up like they were in the first half against us over the weekend. But
well,
that's rivalry games, man. That's what
they
happens.
they scored over 40 in the first half.
That's pretty good.
But now there's 12 minutes left in the game and they have 46. So,
A little bit of a scoring drought for the Commodores. I mean, that's what I was telling somebody Saturday. I'm like, man, this is a rivalry game, and whether it's on the road or you're at home, it is what it is. I mean, you're going to get the best out of both teams, or both teams should get the best shot. But Tennessee found a way to win. Held serve at home. They're now 8-5 in the SEC, 21-5 overall. Big game this weekend, Harbin. Like I said, they can move up in the SEC standings if they can find a way to beat Texas A&M on the road. It's looking right now. It's actually as of last week, A&M was about a 53% favorite according to Matchup Predictor. It's now down to 50.4% in favor of A&M. So pretty much a 50-50 coin toss in this game. What are you expecting from the Vols and Aggies on Saturday?
well, we didn't get any help last night, Tuesday, from the Mississippi State Bulldogs. They kind of handled A&M, beat them. I think it was 70 to 54 was the final, if I remember correctly. It was in Starkville. Obviously, Mississippi State's a good basketball team, but I don't want a team as good as A&M coming off a loss when we're going to their place. That adds a little bit to it, you know. But I don't know. They're good. They're big. They're athletic. I mean, it's kind of the mo in SEC play. I know we sound like broken records saying it, but we're gonna have our hands full. I do think we're a little bit better than them, but they're a top 10 team in the country, which squarely puts them in like top six in the SEC, which is hilarious.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it feels like baseball season. Doesn't feel like basketball season.
I was looking
But
the other day after Kentucky lost to Texas, they dropped to, I believe, ninth. So that means Kentucky has to play, if the tournament started today, not counting last night's game, they would have to start on that Wednesday. Let me look that up. I've got it right here. Yes. Entering Tuesday, they were the 9 seed, and they would have to play 16 seed South Carolina on Wednesday, with the winner moving on to face the 8 seed Mississippi State Bulldogs. Tennessee would be the 6 seed, playing the winner of number 14 Oklahoma versus number 11 Texas on Thursday. Of course, that obviously a lot to change. Missouri's in front of Tennessee. They've got Auburn tonight, or sorry, Alabama tonight. Texas A&M's in front of us. Tennessee's got them on Saturday. Florida's at 3, so don't know that we catch them. But if they were to slip up and lose a couple games, we're right there waiting on them. But I mean, A&M's going to be tough this Saturday. It's at College Station, like we said. A&M is a top 10, top 15 basketball team. Ken Palm's got them at 16 with the number 5 adjusted defense. Interesting note here, they're the number 52 team in adjusted offense. Compare that to Tennessee's the number 1 rated defensive team in adjusted defense and number 30 in adjusted offense. So a little bit of a difference, not much difference on the defensive side, a little bit of a significant difference on the offensive side between these two teams. Tennessee, according to the metrics, is a tick better, Harb.
Yeah. And going back to the SEC tournament, I don't think it's not out of the realm of possibility, in my opinion, that a team that has to play on that Wednesday or in the first round, whatever days they play on,
It's Wednesday.
either wins the tournament or makes it to the championship game. This thing's wide open. I think you can only truly count out two teams out of the 16 total. South Carolina, I feel bad for them a little bit. I forgot how good they were last year.
Yeah, I mean Tennessee had to beat them in Columbia to win the SEC.
Yeah, and them and LSU. LSU's got a little bit more fire under their butt, but I don't know. Like there's literally 14 teams that could legitimately be playing on that Sunday for the championship. I don't think it's likely that a couple of those teams do, but you could definitely make the argument. And if it did happen, I don't think anybody'd be surprised. That's how good this conference is.
Yeah. I'll post it here in the video, but I just sent you the potential bracket. Of course, it's going to change over the next few weeks, but I mean, you look at the bracket in the SEC, you you've got Kentucky right now, pending outcomes playing on that Wednesday. I mean, that's a team that could potentially make their way to Sunday, but that's a huge gauntlet. I mean, just look at the bracket. I mean, you've got to win basically 4 games to get to Sunday. What do you have left if you get to Sunday? You got to win three to get to Saturday now, which is why it's important that Tennessee continue to win. If they want to, and maybe I don't want to say they don't want to win, and we had this discussion last year, but you don't want to lose and go one and done in the SEC tournament. It's not really going to hurt you all that much, but you want to go out there and play well. You don't want to go into the NCAA tournament on a bad note. But I mean, looking at this, Tennessee would have if it stayed status quo, they would have a legit opportunity to win on Thursday and then have a pretty big matchup with a Florida team on Friday, there in Nashville. But keep winning some games here. Jordan and I talked last week. We both think Tennessee's going to go 4-2 down the stretch, so that would put them at 11-7 in the conference. Um, I don't know. Maybe I'm being over realistic, thinking they could go 5-1. I don't know if they win or not Saturday, but I feel better about it now. Even though Texas A&M got beat in Starkville on Saturday, it's tough to play on the road in this conference. We know that, and Tennessee's not been the best on the road over the past few weeks. It's tough to play on the road in this conference. The only thing I feel like Tennessee's got going for them when we go down there is the game time. We talked about it just a second ago, another noon tip off our time, but that's 11 o'clock um, College Station time. I mean, it's going to be a weird time for those guys to play basketball. I don't necessarily think that should be anything that hampers Texas A&M as far as the players go, because these kids have all played AAU basketball where they play at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning and play 2 or 3 games a day. I know that's a different circumstance, but the crowd, will they be as involved that early? I mean, not that it's the crack of dawn, but for college kids on a Saturday, that's probably a little bit early for a basketball game. So I don't know what kind of atmosphere you might have there. I don't know what the name of their arena is. Um, but that's something to keep in mind. And Tennessee's coming off a bye. Are they going to come out with a little more energy than they've had over the past few weeks? So, anyways, it's a big game for the Vols. I think it's a big game for both teams. A&M's trying to stay in the top 10, 15 range, and if they lose two this week, not that they were the bad teams, but they might take a little bit of a fall. I don't know, say too far, but Tennessee's got still a lot in front of them. I mean, they could still push their way to a 1 seed if things work out. And if they want to do that, they got to win Saturday.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one seed's definitely not out of the realm, but I think it's looking more likely that we're going to get a two. I think winning out is, I don't want to say unrealistic because we're gonna have a chance, obviously, in each game. But I think we got two more losses coming our way in the regular season.
Well,
It's a
the BPI, the only game it has, of course, we talked at the start of the season. The only game at the start of the season that BPI had Tennessee losing was at Auburn. And we said there's no way Tennessee goes whatever and one in the 17 and one in the conference. It's not happening. And the only game though, if you go back before the Vandy game, the only game that it has us losing the rest of the way is this weekend. It has us favored in every other game the remainder of the season, and I'm sure that's still the same. And those percentages will change as we go along. But how likely is that to happen? Probably not very high, looking at who you're playing. But I think Tennessee goes on the road and takes care of LSU. They take care of South Carolina at home. That's two more wins to get you to 10. If they could find a way to go to A&M this weekend and win, that gets you to 11 right there. And then you've got Alabama and Ole Miss left. Both one at home, Ole Miss, Alabama at home, Ole Miss on the road. Um, Going to be favored in both of those games as far as the percentages go. I don't know what Vegas will think, but um, find a way to win those two. You're sitting at 13 wins, and 13 and 5 in the SEC ain't bad. I more likely see Tennessee going 11 and 7 or 12 and 6, to be honest, to finish the season, which is still not bad in this conference. That's a pretty good record.
Yeah, and we'll see. And I've brought it up no less than four times this season. But whoever, an SEC team is favored to win the national championship, in my opinion. Like I would say that the SEC has the best odds out of any conference. Uh, and I keep going back to UConn's first national championship. Well, not first, but the first one under Hurley a couple of years ago when they beat everyone they played in the tournament by an average of like 18 points. And I'm like, man, what clicked? And he was like, hell, nothing clicked. We just got out of Big East play. And I think that's going to happen for an SEC team. I'm not saying it's Tennessee or if it's Auburn or whoever, but I do think that could potentially be the case here.
So
So
I,
we'll see.
I pulled them up. ESPN Bet has their current odds as of yesterday, Harb. How many SEC teams do you think are in the top 10?
To win the national championship,
Yes. Betting
Auburn's
odds.
Auburn's the front runner.
Correct. Plus 350.
And I'm fairly certain Duke is number two.
They are at plus 400.
After that, I don't know if it's exact order, but I'd say Alabama, Florida, us, which that's four SEC teams.
Hmm.
Um, I'd say those four are in the top 10. Uh, I'm
There's
forgetting.
one more in the top 10.
Is it who we play on Saturday?
No.
Damn, I'm drawing a
We've
blank.
already we've already played this team
Twice?
twice and
Kentucky.
lost to them twice.
Yeah, Kentucky. So yeah,
Yes.
so there's five out of the top 10 betting favorites hail in the SEC. And we
So
already discussed that Duke was one of the others. I would assume. I don't know. I'm not even going to try to guess the other
So
four.
I'll
I
I'll
don't.
run through them real quick. Auburn and Duke are at 1 and 2. Houston is at 3 plus 900. Alabama's 4 10 to 1. Florida's at 5 10 to 1. Tennessee comes in at 6 18 to 1 odds to win the national title. Iowa State Cyclones are 20 to 1 at number 7. The St. John's Red Storm come in at number 8 at 30 to 1.
Fighting Patinos.
Fighting Patinos. They had a big win the other night against Creighton on Sunday. Kentucky Wildcats are 30 to 1. And rounding out the top 10, the Michigan State Spartans, 33 to 1 odds. Note, I guess there's a tie for 10th, Texas Tech at 33 to 1 odds to win the national title. And then after that, kind of drops a little bit between some other teams. The A&M that Tennessee faces this weekend is 40 to 1 odds to win the national title right now. But yeah, 5 of the 10 teams in the top 10 betting odds are from the SEC. And you look at it on paper in the conference, like if the conference tournament started today, Auburn's 1 seed, and you've got Alabama, who's number 4 in the nation in betting odd favorites to win the title. They're the 2 seed. Florida's the 3 seed, and then you've got Tennessee, who has the 6 best odds to win the national title currently, and they're the 6 seed in the SEC right now. Then you go down to Kentucky, who has the ninth best odds, and they're the ninth best team in the SEC. I don't know what you read out of that, Harbin, but it's kind of wild. You're ninth in your own conference, but you have the ninth best odds to win it all in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome in April.
It's wild. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
I told our friend Josh Walker the other day, I was like, man, I mean, there were so many people just so up in arms after that Kentucky game. And guys, I get it. I don't like losing to Kentucky either. I give Kentucky a pretty hard time. I mean, back to the mines. I sat up in the skybox and yelled, "Can you imagine?" And about got in a fight with a guy over Kentucky. I don't like Kentucky any more than anybody, but you got to look at it on paper like, yeah, we lost to him twice. It sucks. Probably should have beat him at home, but it's not a bad, in terms of your resume, it's not a bad loss. And there were so many people that were just, the season's over. Rick Barnes is going to retire at the end of the season after the first Kentucky loss. Then we won 3 in a row. We're back. Then we lost at Kentucky. This season's a lost cause. Here we go again. Same old Tennessee. And I just refuse at this point in the season to get too high or too low about a loss in this conference. You've said it, Harb. Like, look at that UConn team a couple years ago when they won that title. And they had to come out of that rough and rugged Big East and just hammered everybody. But they didn't look that way in the Big East. And I think you're going to, and I hope I'm not wrong, but you could see a bunch of SEC teams falter in the NCAA tournament, but there's going to be 12 or 13 of them in the tournament. And how far do they go? And will that prove our point that the SEC is so tough that when they play these other teams outside of the footprint in March, that they'll have success that they may not have had in conference play? It's going to be interesting to watch. I just hope the Vols have a lot of success and find their way to the second weekend, deep into the second weekend.
Yeah, yeah. Like it, and it's not that crazy of a concept to say that there could be half of the Sweet 16 be the SEC. Now we could look like total idiots, and out of the potential 12 or 13 that make it, 9 of them get knocked out in the first weekend. I don't think it's likely, but it could happen. It's March.
Yeah.
But we'll see. It's the greatest championship in sports.
It's always fun. My favorite sporting event of the year, the NCAA tournament, coming to us here in a few weeks.
And it rolls right into the Masters.
Yes, the most splendid time of year, Harbin. Um, so moving, let's move on. Different sport here. How awesome does it feel to say this, Harbin? The defending national champions were back in action this weekend. The Tennessee Volunteers baseball team.
Sounds great.
Sounds just rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it?
Yeah, and they kind of picked up exactly where they left off.
A little bit. Poor Hofstra, the pride, came down from Long Island and just took a beating. 15 to nothing in 7 innings on Friday, 18 to 1 in 7 innings on Saturday, 13 to 1 in 7 innings on Sunday. Just total bloodbath. And then Tennessee hosts on Tuesday night at Lindsey Nelson Stadium the UNC Asheville Bulldogs, who took a 3-1 lead in the second inning against the Vols and ended up losing 29-4 in 7 innings, Harbin.
That's
29-4.
so funny.
I didn't know what to expect out of this team. I mean, I knew we were going to be good, but we're replacing a lot off of a national championship team. And they just came right out. And I know they're not playing the best opponents, but if you look around the country, there was a lot of teams in the SEC that lost to non-conference opponents. I mean, Georgia was in a battle last night with Kennesaw State and had to hold them off. Um, I'm sure Kennesaw State's a little bit better than UNC Asheville and Hofstra. Auburn lost to no, they beat Troy the other night. They lost to Holy Cross one time over the weekend. Vandy lost to Nebraska, I believe. Nebraska's not a bad program, but they're not great. But I don't know what that says about Tennessee winning these games like they did. Are they? Does that say those teams were that bad, or is Tennessee just that dang good again?
I mean, I'm sure it's a combo. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
we did what we were supposed to do and probably a little more, in my opinion.
and then some.
You're the defending national champs, and we're what, preseason, or we're number two, I think. Oh, we're four.
Four.
Well, there's like seven different polls.
Yeah,
So anyway, you're defending champs. You're still top five perennially. We'll call it amongst all the polls. I'm not looking at them, but yeah. You're supposed to sweep Hofstra. Sorry, Mister Dubar, but it just is what it is.
sorry.
Uh, yeah, it is what it is. And you're supposed to do that to UNC Asheville. Uh, and it's February. You know, these are tune-ups, and if you do lose one, you can be mad about it. But in my opinion, we have at least, in my opinion, it's the best coach in college baseball. But non-biasedly, we have a top three coach in college baseball. We're coming off a national title, and he's proven himself. So there's nothing really to worry about.
No, I'm not worried.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to worry about. This program is where it needs to be, and it's to a point where we have a lot of new faces, especially starters on the roster from last year. And it's not a rebuild; it's just we're reloading. You know, like there's going to be turnover because we're going to have a lot of guys playing in the big leagues, and we're going to have guys fill in their spots and play just as good, if not better, than those guys. We're a factory now.
Yes. Did you see that we're going to be on the new MLB video game? One of 8 collegiate teams to be on the game.
I did. It's in the road to the show
Road to
mode,
the
I
show.
think.
Hmm.
Starting high school this year. I might think about downloading it.
Is
Or
Carter on it? Is the Hornets on there?
I think so.
Man, what if they had the Hornets on there and they had Allen Grubb Field? I would do it. I would play in an instant.
Well, actually, I saw a screenshot on Twitter. It was a frame from the promo commercial. First look at Road to the Show mode, and it was actually the Carter Hornets traveled to Granger High School in beautiful Rutledge, Tennessee, and they actually had the cows out in
Dang.
outfield. Yeah, yeah, or beyond the
Yeah.
fence.
Yeah. Out there in right, I think it's right field, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. So
I never played at that field. That school wasn't, it was Rutledge High when I played.
I think they're still working out the kinks on Allen Grove Field, but they do have Granger High on there, which
Nice.
yeah, I really did enjoy seeing that.
Nice. I'll have to check it out. It's a beautiful drive if you've never been to Granger High. and their baseball. They do have a very nice baseball stadium for high school. Good facility.
It's so good that Ronnie Rogers wrote a top 10 song of all time about it.
He did. Absolutely. Um, well, Tennessee's back in action this weekend, Harb. They've got the Samford Bulldogs coming to town Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4:30 Friday, 4 o'clock Saturday, 1 p.m. Sunday. I'm going to try to get to the Friday and Sunday games if possible. I don't think I'll be able to make Saturday, but I'm going to try to head to Lindsey Nelson on Friday, catch a few innings before I have to be somewhere else, and then hopefully get to watch the whole game on Sunday. We'll see how things work out. But um, they're back at home for 3 this weekend. Then they're back at home next Tuesday against North Alabama, and then they go to Houston, Texas for the Astros Foundation College Classic. They'll play Oklahoma State, Rice, and Arizona February 28th, March 1st, and March 2nd. It's now called Dakin Park. It used to be Enron Field, then Minute Maid Park. Now it's whatever Dakin Park is. I'll have to look that up. But anyways, they like
They,
to go to Texas and play this time of year.
I didn't know they changed the name. It's not Minute Maid anymore.
No, I saw the other day that it changed, but I didn't know that it had changed to that.
Unbelievable.
I guess they ran out of. I guess Minute Maid ran out of money. Hard. They couldn't pay him anymore.
First, they take away the hill in center field, and now they're taking the name from us. Can't
Yeah.
believe this.
Let's see.
I did see
Dakin Park.
I did see something funny the other day. It was a picture of the hill that the Astros used to have in center field, and it said, "You're gonna have to explain to your kids and grandkids that this was actually real."
So, fun fact. I'm trying to look up what Dakin is.
Is it like
Um,
bacon but with a D?
it's Daikin. Dakin Global, a leading air conditioning and refrigeration company.
Hmm.
Interesting. Um, the Lookouts old stadium in Chattanooga, Ingle Field, had a similar hill in center field at their stadium. That stadium's actually still there in Chattanooga. I went through there, I was down there for work probably about 10, 11 years ago at a conference, and I was actually traveling by myself. And when I left, I said, I'm gonna look up where this place is and go find it. So I looked it up, found it, drove by it. It's not been in use since the early 2000s when the Lookouts moved to their current stadium, and they're actually getting ready to build a new one already, kind of like the Tennessee Smokies when they left Bill Meyer and went to Smoky Stadium. Now they're at Covenant Health Park in Knoxville, but went by and looked at it. I couldn't get in, but Inglefield there in Chattanooga had that hill in center field. Fun fact, the Carter Hornets played in the state tournament in the year 1999 at Inglefield, historic Inglefield. And also, the movie 42 was filmed at Inglefield. It was the backdrop for Ebbets Field. Obviously, they added CGI upper deck to it because Inglefield doesn't have an upper deck. But look that stadium up. Just I'm like, I really like looking at old baseball and football and basketball arenas. Just the history of them, and that's one. It's on the his. I don't know if it's on the historic list or not, but I think there's been a push, and I think UTC has some involvement with it, but they've not ever really done anything with it. So it sounds like to me it's probably rotting at this point and probably beyond repair. But um, I just hate to see old historic facilities like that just sit there and rot away. But anyways, I digress. Harbin, you got any thoughts before we leave? NBA All-Star game was last weekend. That sounded like it was a big dud. I didn't watch it, but did you?
Uh, I watched at least half of it. That was the worst, and I guess I'm the NBA guy of this show.
You
That
are.
was, well, I definitely am, but that was the worst All Star game weekend of all time for the NBA. It is ridiculous what they've done. I put this on Twitter or X, the everything app. Uh, the dunk contest used to mean something. It used to be the highlight of the weekend. Like people cared more about it than the game. You've got a G leaguer from Gate City that's won three in a row. And he's great. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. He was the only reason that it was halfway watchable. And Stephon Castle was good too. But them other two cats, Andre Jackson and uh, I don't know that white boy for the Bulls that was absolutely atrocious.
Don't ask me. I don't know who any of those guys are besides Mac Miller
Mac McClung,
or Mac McClung. Sorry.
R.I.P. Mac
Whoops.
McClung,
Rip.
R.I.P. By the way. But that guy from the Bulls, if this tells you anything, I'd never heard of him.
That's bad if you, I mean, you're the
It's,
NBA guy.
I mean, in the first round, he tried this dunk, and I think they get a minute and a half. He missed it six times. The same dunk he missed six times, and four of them I don't think ball or hand hit the rim. I mean, it was the worst thing I've ever seen. And I don't know what kind of damn grading system they do. He got a 40 for it. And then Stephon Castle had like a pretty impressive dunk they made on the first try, and he got like a 47.8. And it's like that was only 7.5 points better than old dumbass that couldn't throw it in the ocean. The 3 point contest was eh. Tyler Hero won. White Boy Summer may never end, by the way. Cooper DeJean, pick
Yeah.
six in the Super Bowl. Mac McClung, three-time slam dunk champion, and Tyler Hero won 3 point
I was
contest.
gonna say if we didn't want Tyler Hero to win the 3 point contest, not that he could guard him or anything, but we should have just had Jordan Bowden sitting on the sidelines. No way Hero wins it by then.
Absolutely not. I was not pulling for him though. You know, he played for Kentucky and he plays for Miami now, so it's a death sentence for me. Uh, but to the game, it was so bad. I do kind of like the go to 40 thing. I do kind of like that. Like just have a set, like no time limit, set score. I do kind of like that. It's kind of like pickup game. But the best thing about it was the Rising Stars played Shaq's team, which they dubbed the OGs, which was kind of like the older American guys. It was LeBron's team that he just didn't play on. But I liked that because the young guys had something to prove. I mean, it's the first time ever that they got to play on All Star Weekend versus the actual All Stars, and and they didn't win, but they put up a good fight, and they actually made the All Stars play defense, and they were playing defense. So like it was like a legit basketball game. So that part was actually good. But after that, when the All Stars played each other, it was a joke. I mean, it was so bad. Jokic is one of my favorite players, and he made me like kind of mad. And I was mad that I was mad about it. I was like, why do I care enough? I guess it's stupid. But the NHL and the NBA are doing this, which I'm going to segue into that. What the NHL has done with their All Star Week is so damn awesome. Instead of doing an All Star game, they're doing the Four Nations. And if you live under a rock, it's the U.S., Canada, Sweden, and Greenland, I believe.
I believe so.
And in pool play, the U.S. played Canada in Montreal, and the Star Spangled Banner got booed out of the stadium. Well, as soon as the puck dropped, gloves came off, just instant brawl starting off. Obviously, Canada historically is much better at hockey than the U.S. is. There were three fights in the first 9 seconds, and for somebody like me that's not that big into hockey, that's how you get somebody to care. When it's two teams just beating the living hell out of each other for their country. And you can tell that we pissed Canada off. You know, Connor McDavid best player in the world, as far as I know. He was pissed off, and he was talking about playing for the flag. That's awesome. And people are going to be mad that the Canadians booed the national anthem. I'm not mad at all. It's funny as hell, and it's what made that game fun. It's what made everybody in these two countries care about that game. And tomorrow night, which is Thursday, U.S. is playing Canada in the championship game, and none other than Boston. And I cannot wait for them to play "Oh Canada" because you ain't even going to be able to damn hear it. It's going to be the funniest thing of all time, which is how it should be, because at the end of the game, or at the end of the day, it's a game. And it's supposed to be fun and sports are supposed to make you forget about all the other stupid shit in the world, not make you think more about it. But it would be really, really, really cool to go 2-0 against Canada. And like the player said, they're not playing for money; they're playing for a flag. So it's all in good fun for the most part. But I do want to see them beat the living hell out of each other again, and ultimately with the U.S. winning.
You think they'll fight like they did? I
Yeah,
don't.
I do.
I'm gonna watch. I didn't get to watch it Saturday, but I'm gonna watch this one tomorrow night, Thursday night. If you're listening, it's probably tonight, but Thursday night.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it as well. But I can't wait for those Boston fans to boo the ever living crap out of "Oh Canada," because it's gonna be 5 times louder than what they did in Montreal.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, the retaliation's always louder than what started it. So
It's kind of crazy. They booed their future national anthem hard. They're going to be the 51st state, so they better get used to that anthem.
oh boy.
All right. That's about all I got, Harbin. I don't know. That's about it. Vols need a win Saturday.
Ludwig Oberg won the Genesis.
Yes, he did.
Oh, golf is back.
Golf is back.
Golf is back. When they play at Pebble, golf is back. We get the players here in about, I don't know, 4 weeks, I guess.
I'd say a few weeks.
Yeah, and that's the unofficial start of golf season for the most part. Everybody says the Masters, but when you start getting Pebble and Torrey and the Riviera and TPC Sawgrass, and they get into the Florida Swing and play at Bay Hill. That's when golf season starts. So a lot of fun. Ludwig's a machine. He's going to win more than once this year. So
Liv is back. They're playing again.
Liv is back. They just played.
They're
They
in
just played
Australia.
Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know who won, but I did see an incredible
Joaquin Neiman won, I think.
I did see an incredible clip of Kevin Na trying to chip out of the woods slash junk area, and he hit a tree, and it bounced pretty much back to him, and then he tried to hit it again, and it went about 5 feet, and he's dropping f bombs, and everybody in the crowd's just laughing. I mean, it literally looked like when we're playing and we get mad and just walk up and hit it and walk on. We don't even look at it. That's what he was doing. So that was incredible. But I will say, and I don't want to get into this, but the live, it's I saw a conversation over the past weekend at the live, and I think their new CEO said they have the best golfers in the world. I think they've at the top, they're probably not wrong on that, but middle to bottom of their group is not, in my opinion, not very good. And I guess you could say that they're better than the PGA as far as talent goes at the top level because they all left. But it has opened the door for more guys on the PGA to become relevant and win, like your Oiberg and some of those guys. But I don't think that live versus PGA thing is going to go away anytime soon, unfortunately.
I think they're going to get a deal done in the next, I don't know, year and a half probably. I don't know what that entails. Nobody really knows what it entails. We've been doing this for what, 3 years now,
I think it's up to three now.
and still nobody really knows what's going on. behind the scenes for the most part,
Well, we know the Shark's gone. He's no longer CEO of Live, so
which is
um,
just hilarious in and of itself.
yeah,
But to answer Live CEO, if you don't have Scotty Scheffler, you don't have the best talent in the world. Let's
true.
just let's just cut that shit right there, right here and now. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. They're all gonna come back like we kind of uh, expected. They're gonna get a slap on the wrist. They got the president involved, which is kind of funny to me.
Yeah,
Anyway, I'm not
yeah,
starting opening that can of worms, but yeah, the majors are gonna have juice to them again, like they normally do. I do think he did make one comment. He was like, "A live event's better than like the 3M," and maybe, sure,
maybe.
but when Liv's playing at the Grove in Nashville, it's not better than the Genesis
Nope.
or the Memorial or something like that. I mean, he's just blowing smoke on that one. Which I mean, if I was in his position, I'd do the same.
Well, he's getting paid to do that, so
Right? Yeah. I mean, you gotta fluff it however you can.
oh yeah. Well, great show, Harb. Tennessee won Saturday. They'll look for win number 9 in the SEC, number 22 overall, when they travel to Texas A&M this Saturday. It is really cold outside right now here in East Tennessee. We got a little bit of snow, uh, I guess overnight this morning, but the roads were fine. But yeah, it is really cold right now. I hate this time of year. It's not getting as dark, or it's getting staying lighter later every day, so that's good. But until it starts getting dark at like 8 o'clock, I'm not very happy. But we're getting closer to March, just a couple weeks away now, and almost SEC tournament time, and then NCAA tournament time. But big game this weekend for the Vols. Vols baseball's at home against the Sanford Bulldogs, so we'll have a lot to recap. Hopefully next time we come back. I would assume Sunday night. Harb and I will get together and see when our schedules work out, but we'll hopefully be back very soon to break all that down for you. Any parting words before we go, Harb?
Not off the top of my head. JWTGG going
Yes.
down to College Station. Hostile environment. Noon game, which the last time we crossed over into Central Time Zone with a 11 a.m. tip off. That's something that we didn't bring up. Uh, we played very well. It was at Oklahoma, so
Yes. Yes.
A&M's a little bit better than Oklahoma, but still, we shot it really
Just a
well.
little.
We shot it really well that game, so we'll see.
Mhm.
I have decently high hopes for the Vols this weekend.
I think they win. I think they win. I think they go down there and find a way and they win. I'm not saying they will, but I think they do. I guess I am saying they will. Um, All right, that's all I got. Harb, if you're good, I'm good. Remember to, if you are watching us on YouTube, let me backtrack. If you're listening to us on the audio versions on either Apple or Spotify or wherever you're listening, be sure to go check out our YouTube page. Go there and subscribe and like, comment, share, whatever you want to do. But yeah, check us out on our YouTube page. Like I said, you can get us anywhere you get your podcast audio versions. But would really like y'all to go to our YouTube page, check us out there. And yeah, appreciate y'all listening. Stay warm. Go Vols. JWTDG. I'm Negative Niece. That's Harb. And we'll see you guys next time on the Section YY8 podcast.